Every buyer who walks into a dealership with the words Consumer Reports on their phone has an advantage most buyers do not, because the salesperson standing in front of them knows exactly what those words mean and knows exactly which vehicles on the lot will collapse under the specific data those two words represent. Serious. Consumer Reports is not marketing. Consumer Reports is not manufacturer press releases. Consumer Reports is not automotive journalist opinion. Informative Consumer Reports is real annual survey data collected from hundreds of thousands of vehicle owners about what specifically broke on their vehicle in the last 12 months, what specifically needed to be serviced beyond the manufacturer schedule, what specifically the dealer service department did not fix correctly on the first attempt, and whether the owner would buy the same vehicle again if they had the decision to make over. Aggregated across a statistically significant sample, published annually in December for the following model year, and released this year in December 2025 for the 2026 rankings. And when the 2026 numbers dropped, two specific things happened that most buyers did not notice, and that make the ranking on this video meaningfully different from what the same list looked like just 3 years ago. Number one is that Subaru took the top spot on the Consumer Reports 2026 overall brand report card for the second consecutive year, ahead of Toyota, ahead of Honda, ahead of every mainstream competitor in America. That is not a small shift. That is a documented brand-level reliability climb that reshuffles the entire reliability conversation. And number two is that Mazda, which had been a top-tier reliability brand as recently as 2023 and 2024, dropped 8 places in the 2026 rankings. 8 places. Which means specific Mazda vehicles that used to sit near the top of reliability lists have been pushed down, and the honest reviewer who cites Consumer Reports as a source has to acknowledge the shift rather than pretend it did not happen. In this video, I am going to walk you through the specific SUVs from Consumer Reports' 2026 most reliable lineup in countdown order from 5 to 1, based on the specific 2026 Consumer Reports rankings compounded with corroborating data from every credible independent source in the American automotive market. I am going to name the 3-row Toyota that inherits the entire Toyota brand advantage in a family configuration. I am going to name the entry-level Toyota that opens the door into the same brand advantage at the lowest possible price point. I am going to name the specific Subaru that Consumer Reports itself ranked as the number 3 most reliable vehicle of any type on the American market in 2026. Not just the number 3 SUV, the number 3 vehicle overall. I'm going to name the mainstream compact Toyota SUV that anchors the strictest possible filter on real-world, long-mileage survival, documented at 3.5 times the industry average. And I am going to name the specific luxury pick that wraps the identical Toyota engineering in the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in America for 4 consecutive years, per the parallel JD Power Vehicle Dependability Study. Stay with me all the way to the end, because at the end of this video, I am going to name the specific SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that Consumer Reports data would flag as reliability concerns, and I am going to be honest about the Mazda brand level drop that the honest reviewer has to acknowledge rather than pretend around. The brochure says every vehicle is reliable. Consumer Reports publishes exactly which ones actually are. Before I name a single vehicle, you need to understand exactly what Consumer Reports measures and how they measure it, because most buyers who cite Consumer Reports as a source do not actually know how the underlying data gets aggregated, and that ignorance is what allows the salesperson at the dealership to talk them out of the specific picks Consumer Reports would put at the top of the list. Curious, source number 1 that feeds the Consumer Reports rankings is the annual Auto Reliability Survey. Consumer Reports collects self-reported problem data from hundreds of thousands of vehicle owners each year, across every model on the American market, across 17 specific categories of possible failure, including engine, transmission, drive system, in-car electronics, climate system, brakes, suspension, and more. The data is aggregated by model year and by specific model, weighted appropriately for statistical significance, and used to build the predicted reliability rating that Consumer Reports publishes for each vehicle. That rating is the specific number that drives most of the ranking conversation. Source number 2 is the overall brand report card, which aggregates the predicted reliability data across every vehicle a brand sells and produces the brand-level ranking that determines which manufacturer is on top for the year. In the 2026 rankings, Subaru came in first overall for the second consecutive year, meaningfully ahead of every mainstream competitor. Toyota came in first specifically on the reliability sub-index within the overall report card, which is a different measure and which anchors the Toyota vehicles that appear at multiple positions on this ranking. Honda comes in slightly below Toyota on reliability but ahead of most competitors. And the Mazda brand dropped 8 places compared to the previous year, which is the largest single-year movement on the current rankings, and which the honest reviewer has to acknowledge rather than pretend around. Source number 3 is the most reliable vehicles list, which Consumer Reports publishes annually, and which specifically ranks the top vehicles across every category on the American market. In the 2026 list, the Subaru Crosstrek 2026 ranked at position number 3 most reliable vehicle of any type on the American road in 2026, not the number 3 SUV. The number 3 vehicle overall, competing against sedans, hatchbacks, minivans, and every other body style. That is a specific data anchor I am going to unpack in detail at pick number 3 on this list. Source number 4 is the reliability comparison against parallel independent data sources. Consumer Reports data does not exist in isolation. The J.D. Power 2026 U.S. Vehicle Dependability Study, released in February of this year, ranked Lexus at 151 problems per 100 vehicles, the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in the modern era of the J.D. Power study, and the 4th consecutive year Lexus has won the title. That parallel data source specifically confirms the Consumer Reports reliability picture on luxury vehicles, and it anchors the Lexus NX350H at pick number 1 on this list. When the Consumer Reports data and the J.D. Power data and the iSeeCars long mileage survival data and the CarEdge major repair probability data all point at the same specific conclusion on a specific vehicle, the confidence in the pick rises accordingly. Now hold those 4 data sources in your head, because every one of the 5 picks on this list clears all 4 decisively, and the specific 2026 data movements determine which vehicles land where in the ranking. Pick number 5 on the Consumer Reports 2026 Most Reliable SUVs list is the Toyota Highlander 2026, and this vehicle earns its place on the list because it inherits the full Toyota brand reliability advantage that anchors the Consumer Reports 2026 rankings, applied to a 3-row family configuration that most competing 3-row midsize SUVs cannot match on the same reliability metric. Curious? Let me walk you through the specific case. Consumer Reports anchors Toyota at number 1 on the specific reliability sub-index of the 2026 overall brand report card. That sub-index measures documented problem-free ownership across the entire brand lineup, weighted by statistical significance. Proud, the Toyota Highlander 2026 inherits that brand-level advantage directly and specifically applies it to the 3-row midsize SUV segment. The engineering that produces the reliability advantage is the Toyota Hybrid Synergy Drive that anchors most of the picks on this list. Same fundamental engineering that powers the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 at pick number 2 on this list. Same planetary ECVT with no torque converter and no clutch packs. Same naturally aspirated Atkinson cycle engine philosophy. Same fundamental drivetrain architecture and continuous production since the original Toyota Prius 2024 lineage launched in 1997. 28 straight years of continuous refinement. What Toyota does with the Toyota Highlander 2026 is apply that engineering to a 3-row body configuration that seats 7 passengers, with real cargo capacity behind the 3rd row, real all-wheel drive capability on higher trims, and real modern safety technology as standard equipment on every trim. 3-row SUVs are structurally harder to engineer for reliability than 2-row SUVs because there is more vehicle to build, more systems to coordinate, more thermal management to manage. Most 3-row hybrid competitors in 2026 fall meaningfully behind their 2-row siblings on the Consumer Reports predicted reliability data, specifically because of the additional engineering complexity. The Toyota Highlander 2026 does not, because the underlying Toyota HSD engineering is proven across nearly 3 decades of continuous field data at this point, and the 3-row body configuration inherits that field data without adding meaningful new failure surfaces. Let me give you the specific numbers. Base pricing runs from approximately $42,000 on the base trim to around $50,000 on the higher trims, meaningfully below any comparable luxury 3-row hybrid competitor. Real-world combined fuel economy on the hybrid trim lands around 36 miles per gallon, class-leading for a 3-row hybrid SUV. Transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty on 2020 and newer vehicles. Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 standard on every trim. CarEdge major repair probability at 14.97% for the Toyota brand, the lowest documented figure in the entire American automotive market. RepairPal annual maintenance, approximately $441 per year. Now the honest weaknesses. The third row on the Toyota Highlander 2026 is more usable for children than for adults on medium-distance drives, which is the industry standard for three-row midsize hybrids, but worth calling out honestly. The interior on lower trims uses harder plastics than the equivalent Lexus RX 2024 if you want three-row luxury capability with the same fundamental Toyota engineering. The infotainment feels functional rather than luxurious next to some competitors at similar pricing. And because demand for Toyota Highlander 2026 hybrids consistently exceeds supply, you will rarely find one sitting on the lot at a discount. But here is the trade. You give up some third-row adult comfort. You give up some interior refinement. You get back the entire Consumer Reports Toyota reliability advantage applied to a three-row family configuration at a price point meaningfully lower than any luxury alternative. For the buyer who needs three-row family capability with the strictest Consumer Reports 2026 filter on reliability, the Toyota Highlander 2026 is the answer. For buyers who need full-size hybrid capability, the Toyota Sequoia 2026 with the iForce Max drivetrain applies the same Toyota philosophy at the largest scale, with the honest caveat that the underlying engine architecture is different from the standard HSD in the Toyota Highlander 2026, and that was pick number 5. The next pick applies the same reliability advantage at the cheapest entry price of any Toyota HSD SUV in America. Pick number 4 is the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026, and this vehicle earns its place on the Consumer Reports 2026 list because it delivers the entire Toyota brand reliability sub-index advantage at the cheapest entry price of any Toyota HSD SUV in the American market. Curious? Let me walk you through the specific case. Consumer Reports data on the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 inherits the Toyota brand reliability advantage that Consumer Reports specifically ranked number 1 on the sub-index in the 2026 report card. Same fundamental Toyota hybrid synergy drive engineering as the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 at pick number 2 on this list, and the Lexus NX350H at pick number 1. Excited. Same planetary ECVT with no torque converter and no clutch packs. Same naturally aspirated Atkinson cycle engine philosophy. Same fundamental drivetrain architecture that has been in continuous production since 1997. What Toyota does with the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 is scale the drivetrain down to a smaller displacement in a smaller vehicle footprint, which produces the cheapest entry price and the highest fuel economy in the Toyota SUV hybrid lineup, while preserving the underlying reliability engineering that anchors the Consumer Reports predicted reliability rating. Base pricing on the hybrid trim starts at approximately $29,000, meaningfully lower than the base Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 at $31,900, and meaningfully lower than the base Honda CR-V 2026 Hybrid Trail S at $32,315. Real-world combined fuel economy on the hybrid trim lands at approximately 42 miles per gallon. Combined output is 196 horsepower. Standard all-wheel drive on every hybrid trim in the 2026 lineup, which simplifies the buying decision because you do not have to trade capability for efficiency. Toyota Safety Sense standard on every trim. CarEdge major repair probability at 14.97% for the Toyota brand, the lowest documented in the entire American automotive market. Transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty. Now the honest weaknesses. The Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 gives you the smaller displacement engine and the shorter wheelbase. The interior is meaningfully more compact than the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 or the Toyota Highlander 2026 with less rear seat legroom, less cargo space behind the second row, and a less commanding driving position. Combined output is meaningfully lower than the 226 horsepower on the base Toyota RAV4 2026 X3, and acceleration is adequate rather than thrilling. The specific Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 X2 variant is the mid-tier trim if you want additional equipment, and the Toyota Corolla Cross GR Sport variant applies a sportier appearance package on the same fundamental drivetrain. But here is the trade. You give up some interior space, you give up some horsepower. You get back the cheapest entry into the Consumer Reports 2026 Toyota Reliability Advantage in America at a price point most buyers do not associate with the top of the reliability rankings. If you are a single buyer, a couple without kids, a retiree downsizing, or a buyer in a dense urban environment where compact size is a genuine advantage, the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 is the answer. And that was pick number 4. The next pick is where the specific 2026 Consumer Reports data anchor moves in a direction most buyers did not expect. Pick number 3 is the Subaru Crosstrek 2026, and this vehicle earns its place at position 3 on the Consumer Reports 2026 list because Consumer Reports itself specifically ranked it as the number 3 most reliable vehicle of any type on the American market in 2026. Surprised, not the number 3 SUV. The number 3 vehicle overall, competing against sedans, hatchbacks, minivans, and every other body style currently sold in America. That is a genuinely rare data anchor for a compact SUV to hold in a Consumer Reports ranking, and it deserves specific unpacking. Curious, let me walk you through the specific case. Consumer Reports overall. Brand Report Card 2026 placed the Subaru brand at number 1 for the second consecutive year, ahead of Toyota and Honda and every other mainstream competitor. That is the brand level anchor. The Subaru Crosstrek 2026 inherits that brand advantage and applies it to the specific compact SUV configuration that Consumer Reports specifically singled out as one of the 3 most reliable vehicles on the American market this year. Let me walk you through why the Consumer Reports data points at this specific vehicle. The Subaru Crosstrek 2026 uses the current generation Subaru Boxer engine, a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder architecture that Subaru has continuously refined across decades of production while preserving the fundamental engineering choice, naturally aspirated in the base and mid-tier configurations, sidestepping every failure mode associated with turbocharged engines. Paired to the Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive mechanical system that comes standard on every trim, with a real mechanical drive shaft connecting the front and rear axles rather than an electronically actuated system that engages only when the front wheels slip. That mechanical AWD is the specific engineering choice that separates the Subaru Crosstrek 2026 from most compact SUV competitors, and that makes it the reliability pick for the snow country buyer specifically. J.D. Power 2026 U.S. Vehicle Dependability Study anchors the Subaru brand at 181 problems per 100 vehicles, ranked 6th overall and meaningfully below the industry average of 204. Real independent parallel confirmation of the Consumer Reports predicted reliability rating. The IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus rating on the Subaru Crosstrek 2026 is the same badge the Subaru Forester 2024 and the Subaru Forester 2026 Largo have earned for 10 consecutive years. EyeSight Driver Assist is standard on every trim. Base pricing runs approximately $29,000 to $32,000 depending on trim and options. Real-world fuel economy lands in the high 20s to low 30s combined, meaningfully modest compared to Toyota HSD vehicles, but competitive within the Subaru lineup. Now the honest weaknesses. Fuel economy on the Subaru Crosstrek 2026 is meaningfully below what a Toyota hybrid Synergy drive vehicle at pick number 2 or pick number 4 delivers, because the current generation Subaru Crosstrek 2026 does not use the Toyota licensed hybrid technology that has extended into the Subaru Forester 2026 Largo hybrid variant. If fuel economy is a top-tier criterion for you, the Subaru Forester 2026 Largo hybrid variant is the answer within the Subaru lineup. Interior on lower trims uses functional but not luxurious materials, and the Subaru dealer network is meaningfully smaller than Toyota's, which matters at year 15 and beyond. But here is the trade. You give up some fuel economy, you give up some dealer network depth. You get back the specific vehicle. Consumer Reports itself ranked as the number 3 most reliable vehicle on the American market in 2026, wrapped inside the brand. Consumer Reports ranked number 1 overall brand for the second consecutive year, paired to mechanical symmetrical AWD as standard equipment, with the IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus credentials the segment mostly cannot match. The Subaru Crosstrek 2024 from the previous generation carries essentially the same reliability profile on the used market. The larger Subaru Outback applies the same Subaru brand advantage in a station wagon body style, and the Impreza applies it in a car body if you prefer a sedan or hatchback, and that was pick number 3. If you are still watching, the next two picks are where every one of the four Consumer Reports data sources point at the same specific vehicle. Pick number 2 is the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3, and this vehicle earns the number 2 spot on the Consumer Reports 2026 list because every one of the four data sources from the Battlefield block points at the same specific answer, and the case for the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 sits at the mainstream sweet spot in the entire American compact SUV market. Enthusiastic? Let me walk you through why the specific pick works. Consumer Reports Toyota brand reliability sub-index at number 1 in the 2026 report card. The Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 inherits that brand-level advantage directly and applies it to the specific compact SUV configuration that carries the highest documented long-mileage survival rate in the segment on parallel data sources. iSeeCars puts the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 family at approximately 17.8% probability of reaching 250,000 miles, the highest documented probability in the compact SUV segment and roughly 3.5 times the industry average of 4.8%. CarEdge major repair probability at 14.97% for the Toyota brand overall, the lowest documented figure of any vehicle brand in the entire American automotive market. KBB has named the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 platform best resale value in its class for 6 consecutive years, with a 5-year residual around 53%. That resale value is the used market's aggregate pricing of the same reliability picture that Consumer Reports publishes. The engineering that produces the numbers is the Toyota Hybrid Synergy Drive that has been in continuous production since 1997, 28 straight years, naturally aspirated 2.5-liter Atkinson cycle engine, dual injection, planetary ECVT with 0 traditional wear items. Documented examples past 350,000 miles on original drivetrains in customer hands today. The Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 is 100% hybrid for 2026 with no gasoline-only variant remaining in the lineup. Base pricing starts at $31,900. Combined output reaches 226 horsepower in front-wheel drive. EPA combined fuel economy at 48 city and 42 highway on the front-wheel drive trim. Transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty on 2020 and newer vehicles, transferring to the second owner under Toyota terms without restrictions. Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 standard on every trim. Now the honest weaknesses. The interior on lower trims uses harder plastics than some competitors at similar pricing. The rubber band effect under hard acceleration, where the engine RPM climbs faster than road speed, is present and audible. And because demand for the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 consistently exceeds supply, you will rarely find one sitting on the lot at a discount. You will pay close to MSRP. None of those weaknesses is a reliability issue. None of them shows up as a documented pattern on any of the four data sources. If you want the single most defensible mainstream compact SUV purchase available in America in 2026 on the Consumer Reports 2026 rankings compounded with parallel data confirmation, the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 is the answer. The Toyota RAV for 2024 from the previous generation carries essentially the same reliability profile on the used market. The Toyota Camry Hybrid 2024 applies the same fundamental HSD engineering in a sedan configuration for buyers who prefer a lower-slung vehicle. Every one of those benefits from the same underlying Consumer Reports advantage. And pick number 1 on the Consumer Reports 2026 most reliable SUVs list. Excited, the single SUV in America in 2026 where the Consumer Reports predicted reliability data compounds with the J.D. Power vehicle, dependability data compounds with the iSeeCars long mileage survival data compounds with the CarEdge major repair probability data to produce the strongest reliability picture available in the entire American automotive market is the Lexus NX350H. Let me walk you through the case, because for the buyer whose budget will absorb the luxury premium, the case is genuinely different from what the same fundamental Toyota engineering delivers in the mainstream Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 at pick number 2. Thoughtful, the Lexus NX350H is mechanically the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 wearing a luxury wrapper. Same fundamental Toyota Hybrid Synergy Drive. Same 2.5-liter Atkinson cycle engine. Same planetary ECVT that has been in continuous production since 1997, with effectively no documented pattern of internal failure across 30 model years of refinement. Same transferable hybrid battery warranty at 10 years or 150,000 miles, so the fundamental engineering underneath is identical to the Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 at pick number 2. What Lexus adds is the specific quality control regime around the fundamental Toyota bones that produces the specific Consumer Reports predicted reliability rating at the top of the luxury category and the parallel J.D. Power Vehicle Dependability Study rating at the top of the entire American automotive market. On the J.D. Power 2026 US VDS released in February of this year, Lexus came in first overall at 151 problems per 100 vehicles, the fourth consecutive year the brand has won the title. That is the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in the modern era of the study. The industry average sits at 204 pp100. The mainstream Toyota brand sits at 185, meaningfully below the industry average, but still 34 pp100 above the Lexus number. Every other luxury brand runs meaningfully above the Lexus number. The 34 pp100 gap between Lexus and Toyota on the J.D. Power VDS is not the engineering. The engineering is essentially identical. The gap is everything that happens to the same fundamental Toyota bones once Toyota stops touching them and Lexus takes over. Tighter assembly tolerances on the Lexus production line, more rigorous quality control regime, higher grade interior materials that age more gracefully, better sound insulation, all of those advantages compound over time. And Consumer Reports separately ranks Lexus at the top of the customer service index for luxury brands for multiple consecutive years, which means when the vehicle does need service, the dealer experience produces meaningfully fewer complaints than what any competitor delivers. EPA, combined fuel economy on the Lexus NX 350H, lands at 41 city and 37 highway. Pricing starts at approximately $45,000. $12,000 to $15,000 more than the base Toyota RAV for 2026 X3 at pick number 2. Now the honest weaknesses. Starting price is roughly $13,000 higher than the base Toyota RAV for 2026 X3. Cargo space is smaller. Infotainment feels visually behind next to some competitors. But here's the trade. You pay roughly $13,000 more. You give up some cargo. You get back the same fundamental Toyota engine and transmission wrapped in the specific Consumer Reports predicted reliability rating at the top of the luxury category, plus the parallel J.D. Power number 1 for 4 consecutive years, plus the industry-leading Consumer Reports customer service index in luxury. Every data source points at the same vehicle. The Lexus RX 2024 applies the same brand advantage in a larger midsize luxury configuration if you want more interior space and can absorb the additional pricing. If your budget will absorb the luxury premium and every one of the 4 Consumer Reports 2026 data sources compounding decisively matters more than the last $13,000 in upfront pricing, the Lexus NX 350H is the answer. So if you have been watching for the last 22 minutes, ready to be told which of the 5 picks is right for your specific life, here is the honest verdict by buyer profile, with attention to the senior buyers in the comments and the specific SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that Consumer Reports data would flag as reliability concerns. Curious, if you are downsizing, buying your first hybrid SUV, or optimizing for the cheapest entry into Consumer Reports 2026 Toyota reliability, the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 is the answer, with the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 X2 and the Toyota Corolla Cross GR Sport variants for buyers who want additional equipment or a sportier appearance. If you carry a family and need 3 rows with the strictest Consumer Reports Toyota reliability filter, the Toyota Highlander 2026 is the answer, with the Toyota Sequoia 2026 as the full-size alternative. If you live in a snow country state and prioritize mechanical symmetrical AWD wrapped in the #1 overall brand on Consumer Reports, 2026 for the second consecutive year, the Subaru Crosstrek 2026 is the answer, with the Subaru Crosstrek 2024 on the used market as a lower-cost alternative, the Subaru Outback as the larger sibling, the Subaru Forester 2024, and the Subaru Forester 2026 Largo as the midsize Subaru SUV, the Forester Wilderness 2 for additional off-road capability, and the Impreza for a sedan or hatchback body style. If you want the mainstream compact SUV sweet spot with the strictest filter on Consumer Reports, 2026 reliability compounded with iSeeCars long mileage survival at 3.5 times the industry average, the Toyota RAV 4 2026 X3 is the answer. And if your budget will absorb the luxury premium and you want Consumer Reports high reliability compounded with JD Power number 1, dependability for 4 consecutive years, the Lexus NX 350H is the answer, with the Lexus RX 2024 as the larger sibling if the size and pricing work. As alternatives, the Honda CR-V 2026 Hybrid Trail S delivers class-leading rear legroom with the Honda brand's cheapest annual maintenance in America, and the Honda Pilot delivers 3-row family capability with the naturally aspirated Honda J35V6. Now let me speak directly to senior buyers who have asked me to call this ranking specifically. Every one of the 5 picks passes the senior filter. For the senior buyer whose budget is conservative, the Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 is the answer. For the senior buyer who lives in snow country and prioritizes mechanical AWD, the Subaru Crosstrek 2026 is the answer. For the senior buyer who wants the mainstream sweet spot, the Toyota RAV 4 2026 X3 is the answer. For the senior buyer whose retirement budget will absorb the luxury premium, the Lexus NX 350H is the answer. All 4 honor senior criteria. Now let me name the specific SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that Consumer Reports data would flag as reliability concerns, and I need to include an honest disclosure that most reviewers avoid. The Nissan Rogue with the variable compression turbo engine has been recalled more than 1 million times in 12 months across 3 separate mechanical systems, and the Infiniti QX50 uses the same variable compression turbo family with luxury parts pricing on top. The BMW X5 2024 plug-in variant carries the plug-in complexity concern that Consumer Reports data itself confirms produces approximately 80% more reportable problems than self-charging hybrids in the first 5 years of ownership. The Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in variant carries the same architectural concern paired to a dealer network that has been shrinking. The Mazda CX-90 Largo plug-in uses an 8-speed wet clutch transmission that owners describe consistently as a blender with a marble in it. Now, the honest disclosure. The Mazda brand dropped 8 places in the Consumer Reports 2026 overall brand report card compared to the previous year. That means specific Mazda SUVs that used to sit at the top of reliability lists in 2023 and 2024 have been pushed down, and the honest reviewer citing Consumer Reports as a source has to acknowledge the movement rather than pretend it did not happen. The Mazda picks that anchor other rankings on other metrics like RepairPal annual maintenance cost do not clear the Consumer Reports 2026 filter as decisively as they used to. That is not because the vehicles suddenly became unreliable overnight. It is because Consumer Reports data is annual and cumulative, and the 2026 rankings reflect current year data patterns that the honest reviewer has to respect. And finally, the gasoline Honda CR-V 2024 gasoline trim uses the 1.5-liter turbocharged direct injection engine subject to a federal class action settlement for oil dilution defects, though the Honda CR-V 2026 Hybrid Trail S uses the completely separate naturally aspirated EHEV engine that sidesteps that specific concern. Before you go, I need something specific from you in the comments below because the next video on this channel is going to be built directly on the data you leave here. Curious? If you currently own one of the 5 picks from this Consumer Reports 2026 list, drop your model year, your trim, your current mileage, your state, your real-world combined fuel economy, and any specific reliability event you have experienced with the mileage it occurred at. If you own a Subaru Crosstrek 2026 or the previous generation Subaru Crosstrek 2024, I especially want to hear whether the current year Consumer Reports number 3 most reliable vehicle ranking has matched your actual ownership experience so far. If you own a Toyota RAV 4 2026 X3, Toyota RAV 4 2024, Toyota Highlander 2026, or Toyota Corolla Cross 2026 past 200,000 miles, tell me what actual reliability events you have experienced with the mileage they occurred at. Because your data confirms or refines the Consumer Reports predicted reliability rating on your specific model year, if you own a Lexus NX 350H or the previous generation Lexus RX 2024 hybrid variants, I especially want to hear your Lexus dealer service experience because the J.D. Power Customer Service Index that anchors the pick number one placement is based on aggregate data, and your specific dealer experience helps confirm or challenge the pattern. The patterns we find in these comments are how I refine future Consumer Reports videos and how I catch reliability shifts in specific model year ranges before they hit the Consumer Reports predicted reliability database in a bigger way. Do not just leave a thumbs up. Leave your actual reliability experience. And I want to leave you with two things that are coming. The first one is that I have been investigating something specific about how the Consumer Reports 2027 rankings will be built, and what I am hearing from the specific Consumer Reports methodology on the 2027 predicted reliability calculations could either extend the current Subaru brand advantage into a third consecutive year at number one, or produce a data movement that returns Toyota to the top spot. When those rankings drop in December of 2026, I will be here breaking them down within the same week. Subscribe so you do not have to come looking. The second thing is that Honda confirmed in the May 2026 business briefing that 15 next-generation hybrid models are coming by 2030, which means the Honda Pilot and the Honda CR-V 2026 Hybrid Trail S, arriving in 2027 and 2028, could receive drivetrain updates that produce Consumer Reports predicted reliability ratings that push meaningfully further up the list than what the current models achieve. That would meaningfully rearrange this ranking. Either way, I will be here breaking it down the moment the news lands. Subscribe so you do not have to come looking. I will see you in the next one.